Hello, Austining. It's Mayor Victoria Gearity here with you on this Tuesday afternoon. And I just have a couple of updates for you. I'll give you our number of positive cases for today, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the census. We had some really good news on that front. Well, marginally good news, but anything in a positive direction is good. The number of total positive cases for folks with who've tested positive for the coronavirus in the village of Austining is up to 656. And while the rate may still be slowing, we don't know how many of those 656 have recovered. And the bigger number we don't know is how many people would test positive or would have the antibody if we had widespread testing. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of a better understanding in the coming weeks of how widespread the virus is and how close we are getting to that herd immunity, which will make it a lot easier for us to know how to come out of this sheltering in place or stay at home orders that we're experiencing right now. Getting out of it in a way that's safe and responsible is the challenge ahead of us, and having enough testing so that we can have an understanding of how many people are truly infected or have been infected is critical. The good news that I have to share is we get these periodic updates from Commissioner Norma Drummond in the County Planning Department. And what her email today, usually the only time that the Village of Austining is mentioned is as one of the worst in response rates. So we were actually mentioned in a positive way in in today's email. We were the second highest overnight increase in responses to the census. So that means that people in the Village of Austining more people in the village of Austining. We had a greater increase in the number of responses than any other community except one. So I was really pleased to see that all of these efforts that we've been putting forward from the village, from me, from you talking to your friends, from you liking and sharing posts and talking to your family members and saying, no, really, really, you need to respond. It's working, even in this very, very difficult time to ask people to do anything other than protect themselves and think about the safety of themselves and their family. It is essential for us to get the word out, to get a high number of responses to the census. That is going to determine how we are represented for the next decade, and this type of funding, the amount of funding that comes to us. All this funding that we're talking about coming from the federal government, either to government entities or to individuals or to school districts, when it's coming to us on a per capita basis, that per capita is reflective of the number of people that the federal government knows live here because of the number of people, based on the number of people that responded 10 years ago. We were undercounted then. Let's not be undercounted this time. We're going for a complete count, and I'm delighted to see that Austining residents are responding at a higher rate than we have been and than most other communities are. And I'm pretty sure we just overtook Sleepy Hollow, where I was raised as a child, that they didn't have the kind of response rate overnight that we did. So now we're only the seventh worst. So New Rochelle, we're coming for you. You're next on the list. We're going to have a higher response rate than New Rochelle before we know it, if we keep on track like this. So keep telling the folks that you know in your circle how easy it is and how important it is and how confidential it is responding to the census. To help get the word out, today we had a visit from the county coordinator for the census. His name's Heriberto Contreras. He was with us at the food distribution site at Market Square. Unfortunately, the weather was a little gloomier when we were out there getting wet under the tent and umbrella, but some people were still coming by, and anybody who picked up groceries today in the grab-and-go groceries distribution, they got it handed to them in a Census 2020 tote bag with a flyer inside, and we asked everyone, have you responded to the census? If not, here's your reminder. Do you have any questions for us? So it was another opportunity to talk to folks. And that's really the big message is anytime you have an opportunity to communicate with anybody, if you could please bring up the census, it will make such a big difference for us. It influences the funding that we get every year from sales tax revenue in the village. It influences the amount of funding that we are eligible for community development block grants. That's money that goes toward putting in sidewalks and streets in our most heavily populated neighborhoods. So please, 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 there are millions of dollars at stake for us having a complete count. Thanks so much to everyone who is helping to make that message get out there. It's nice to have something positive to report on, even if it is just a marginal improvement. Being seventh worst isn't something to celebrate unless you just were sixth worst. So thanks to everybody who's helping spread the news. One of the suggestions that Heriberto Contreras had was for family phone banking. We find that one-on-one communication and encouraging people to participate is really the most effective way to increase our rate. So if you are somebody who has family members that you can reach out to by phone or by email, and just by phone is great because maybe you're just offering them the reminder that they need, or maybe they didn't realize how important it was or how easy it was, or maybe they have some concerns, and there are a lot of reasons to be concerned, particularly if you are yourself an immigrant or have residents, family members who are, or people in your household who may even be undocumented. And there are a lot of reassurances out there for how this is maintained confidentially, and that the numbers are associated with not with an individual household, but rather with a census tract, and that those census tracts are what we use when we apply for funding, and when we are determined whether or not we're eligible for funding. The number of people and the demographics, the income level in those census tracts sometimes makes a real difference and in what sort of funding we can bring into our community. And that doesn't even address the fact that we want to be accurately represented at higher levels of government, where our representation is, the gerrymandering that you've heard so much about. The district lines are going to be drawn in 2021 based on the census numbers. So we want to make sure that we are appropriately represented, accurately represented at every level of government, and that we receive the appropriate funding. That's why you hear myself and others talking so much about the census, how incredibly important it is for the well-being of our community. Just put that on the list of things that are incredibly important for us to be doing right now. So I will, I think, close by just taking a moment to be grateful, list a few of the things that I am grateful for. I heard someone say recently, someone who is grateful is someone who is happy. And I am very fortunate to have so many things to be grateful for, and I hope you do too. I am grateful to be at home with people that I love, people that we are kind to each other. I am grateful that we have a little bit of savings. Now we are, like so many other people, experiencing a severe loss of income, and that we have some stability in our home life. And that I have, that my parents and my in-laws and all of the folks that I am closest to that are in high-risk categories, to my knowledge at this point, have been able to steer clear of the virus. And those are the top things for me. I'm also grateful that I have the privilege to serve in this community with so many wonderful and generous and kind people. And that is certainly one of the highlights of this very dark time for us, is the tremendous generosity and kindness and dedication of the people of Ossining for their neighbors and for the wider world. So thank you so much to everyone who is doing what you can do, even if that means you're staying at home and you're washing your hands and you're just thanking the essential workers who are out there keeping us safe and healthy and protected every day. It's not an easy time. I really look forward to when we can look back on this and reflect, and hopefully we'll have learned some really powerful and important messages. Be well. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, Gigi. Love looking at my hair. Well, thanks, Gigi. I definitely have coronavirus hair. Long, wild, and gray already. Take care.